I'm Meryl, I'm a debtor, and I write things down. So I want to say happy birthday, DA, whatever year it is, whatever year the real birthday is. Will the real birthday please stand up? It figures if it's a number, we've confused it in DA. And I just love to welcome everyone on the phone because I've had 2 recoveries in DA. One was from a very low bottom. I came into the program March 25th, 1983, and things got a lot better, and it was terrible when I came in. And today I was kind of remembering the physical feeling is exactly the opposite of that first day. So I was sitting in the meeting, here's a little demonstration. So for those who are on the phone, I start sitting up erect, then I'm listening to people, then I'm starting to slump, then I'm starting to collapse. And in fact, when I stood up, after hearing people share, my knees buckled out from under me and I had to be helped out of the room onto the street. And that happened 3 weeks in a row. So I didn't know I needed DA when I got there, but I needed DA so much. And so when you're the 4th or 5th speaker, then you have all this stuff that you want to say. And since I write things down, thank God. So I'm here because I don't want a debt today, and that's why I continue to come to DA. I said I have 2 recoveries in me. The low bottom one was I was homeless, and I was a corporate vice president. It takes only a debtor can manage to do those 2 things at the same time. And it was a pretty serious situation. And then I was I really worked this program vigorously. John H. was my pressure relief person. No, he was my pressure group person. There was no relief. Because he said, if you want to live, this is what you'll do. And we had friends in DA who jumped out of windows and killed themselves because they didn't want to have a discussion about money. And I could have been one of those people. I lived in a fantasy. I took act as if way too far, and DA, when I came into DA, was an oral tradition. We didn't have anything except a few flimsy pamphlets. Mind you, they were good pamphlets, but we didn't have much. We had to rely on the experience, strength, and hope of others who really had helped each other. The expression is said in many 12-step programs, but for me it is most poignant in DA. DA does not promise to open the gates of heaven and let you in. It only promises to open the gates of hell and let you out. And I was in hell. So I didn't even know what my problem was. No matter what people were saying, I didn't understand it. And I couldn't understand it so much. So I was thinking, as I was sitting listening to all of the people who spoke before me, saying what characterized my disease. One was denial. I had no idea I had it. When I was walking across town from the apartment I was, sort of squatting in on the Upper West Side, where the window didn't close, I was on a broken box spring, and it was snowing. And I didn't have enough money to take transportation to my office in Rockefeller Center. There's something wrong with the picture, right? Wrong with the picture? I ended up in DA, right? Denial. Big stretch of denial. I couldn't because my parents weren't compulsive debtors, or I couldn't do it because I had a corporate job, or I couldn't do it because I had a good suit on. I mean, whatever it was, I made it up. I made up my story, but the finish line was going to be very clear. I was going to go out of a window. And in fact, a number of years later, I was still contemplating going out of a window. And then I heard someone actually go out of a window who I was friends with. And then that cured me. And it says, now let's live in the solution. That's not just pretend it's about money, because I started to earn money, and I stopped being in that homeless situation. And that is also a problem in some ways, because then I thought, well, that it really is about making a lot more money. And if you make a lot more money, your problems go away. Not true, which I'll tell you in a couple of minutes. You have to stay for the punchline. So the second thing So there's this denial. And then in DA, I was thinking it sort of follows the stages of grief. So first, in my case, it was denial. I didn't know what I didn't know, so ignorance was not bliss, but something. And then there was real shock. This is what they call what I've been doing? I don't like this. I don't like this label, but I kept coming back because people were laughing in the room, like you were laughing a few minutes ago, you terribly irreverent, nasty people, you, laughing at my pain. But we're all laughing. We have to laugh at it. It's insane what we put ourselves through. And we didn't do it on purpose. We did it because we have this disease of compulsive debting. So then I went into despair. I'll never, you heard other people say, I'll never, it'll never. People who are addicts get a cold and they think, I'll never get better. People who are debtors say, I'll never be able to do whatever it is, okay? And then I got to this place of being so tired of hearing myself say, I'll never, that there was a relief. There was a kind of relief. And from that vista, I had a new vision of things. Now, unfortunately, since I'm still an addict, my vision of things was not expansiveness and there's a solution. It was the loophole thinking. It's like, well, it's not really a debt if you do such and such. You've never told yourself that, right? That's not really debting because we guess at what normal is. We guess. So that's one of the things I was thinking about. What are the stages? Even coming out of it, there are still stages. I am being detoxed in my mind. Somebody said at a DA meeting the other night, isn't there just a detox for debtors? Couldn't you just go in and they could give you something and 30 days later you'd wake out healed? No, I wish there were. I loved when she asked that. Okay. So the second thing I thought about to characterize my disease, it's a disease that infantilizes me. I was 32, I think, when I came in. I don't know. I'm a statistician. I can't do simple math. So anyway, I wasn't an adolescent. So I came in here as an adolescent, really. I didn't know how to do anything, manage a checkbook. I only knew how to kite checks. You know what that means? If you're not from this country, it means there's no money in your account. But because you don't understand what a check really is, you think all the money in your bank you're entitled to use. It's the $5,100 that you think you have when you have the credit card and the $100. Well, I thought I had the $5 million in the bank. That's the way I behaved with a checking account. So I don't write checks. And not only that, my pressure relief group at one point said, you can't even use plastic because your view of what you think plastic is, if you flash your plastic, you've paid. It doesn't matter what's behind it. So even debit cards and ATM cards, that wasn't good for me. I'm better now because there's also a shredder. You can shred your cards if you need to. Not your credit cards, even your debit cards. So this adolescent thing, and I went to teenager. Then I think I became a Gen Xer, despite my age. And then, after 25 years of solvency, my parents were both ill. I was working at night as an instructor at a university. I got too busy, and I thought situations I shouldn't come. And I started to drift. I had done a lot of service, and I drifted and drifted and drifted. And 2 years out of the program, I managed to get into $120,000 of IRS debt. So the numbers are really different. So I'm not homeless now. In fact, I had 2 homes, and I had a lot more debt. And I had been solvent for a long time. But I never have recovered from the notion that I'm self-sufficient. And I got caught up in the service in a way that wasn't healthy for me. I hid behind service. I wasn't doing service gladly rendered. I was doing service it was a new expression of self-sufficiency. I've got this, let me tell you what I did. So, this is part of, everything is about moderation, including the service. So the third thing is, that I realized is my recovery is not linear. It's not from I recognize this and I go to this point. It's serpentine. Now that's partly because I'm a loophole thinker. I would rather go around things for a long time until I realize that the shortest distance between 2 points is the straight line. So that's why I need a lot of help, as other people have said. So because it was an oral tradition and I couldn't understand anything anybody was actually saying in the meeting, John H. used to take me out to the diner after the meeting. And he'd say, "Listen up, kid." And I said, "Okay." And he said, "Let me tell you what this means. Don't use other people's money." That's my first suggestion to you. So that one I got. And then he said, "Let me explain what that looks like." All right? So here we are. We're at the diner. If you did have any money, which you don't, and if I didn't have enough change to live for a tip, because that's how much you left for tips then, I'm not saying to you, give me the money now and I'll get you at the register. Get the behavior of borrow out of your vocabulary. Ask if you can use the person's pencil. Could I wear your sweater? Don't even ask, don't say, "I owe you a letter. I owe you a phone call." It's that graphic and it's got to be that visceral. Start to learn it that way. And then he said the thing that really surprised me. And every time I say this, about 50 people afterwards will come up and ask me the question, so I'll tell you the answer now, so you don't have to ask me later. He said, "Get on a cash basis and everything else will work out." And everybody then comes up later and says, "Does that mean you can't use a check? Does that mean there's no debit cards? Can you not be da, 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 da?" Just think about it. If we don't understand the answer to it, we need to keep coming. Like, I did not know what cash was. I mean, I didn't know that green stuff. And I have a friend whose story was in the first Currency of Hope, and he said, "I need to see the green stuff. I need to count it physically to see what it was and how much this thing could buy." And I like to do that now. I like to do that. I love paying cash for things. This thing, why did I get here? It is about money, and people keep saying it's not about money. It's just the way I express my inability to deal with life on life's terms. There are other ways, too. Because my higher power, it took a lot for my higher power to get my attention. I qualify for a lot of 12-step programs. I'm only working 3 right now, but I've had permanent visitor status at another 5 or 6 12-step recovery programs. These are the 3 that kick my ass, DA being one of them. And so, this is probably too important, so I better read it instead of trying to remember it. So the idea of underlying traits, that is not addressed by my tools. Working the tools of DA is really important because that gets me into action. And I belong to a group where we work the tools really damn hard. And I'm really grateful for it because despite all these years of recovery with a 2-year hiatus and a lot of debt in between, they say, the proverbial saying is, while you're in the meetings, listening to recovery messages, your dizzy is in the parking lot doing push-ups. And mine sure was. But there's something that I'm never going to heal unless I face this spiritual process that's in the steps. That I am powerless over debt. Not circumstances, that's not the issue. I'm powerless over the fact that I am a compulsive debtor. This really dates me, but this is a groove in the vinyl that was cut after many years of practice. And even practicing recovery does not eliminate it. It just puts it into dormancy. Dormancy, believe me, you heard my story, So that's the first thing. So I face that, and then I have to believe that something greater than me is essential for me to do this. I could not stop this on my own. I couldn't stop debting. I couldn't stop being homeless. I couldn't stop telling myself the story. I had to expose it to the light, but I had to believe in a power greater than myself. In AA, they say group of drunks is a really good thing. I think group of debtors works just as well for God. If you're licking a God, you could try collective wisdom of DA, which I have for a long time. Okay? And then the third step, come to believe that a power greater than myself could restore me to sanity. Thank you. Now, in our new DA book, which is really written in the simplest language they could possibly muster, and it's finally, I don't need anyone to decode this literature. I mean, I could take issue with the big book. I wanted to rewrite it. I'm an English major. I could write this better. I wanted to take issue with the step book. I wanted to take issue with the currency of hope in every pamphlet. I don't have any issues with this step book. It is so simple, and it gets to my heart. And this prayer, this third step prayer that's in there, higher power, I stand before you, ready to be transformed. I place myself in your hands. If you know it, say it. Guide me on my recovery path. Remove my compulsive debting, my self-centered fear, and my own self-will. May I shine to others as a beacon of your power. May I choose to remain on your path always. I listen to that. It's a meditation for me. I can feel it vibrate in my body. It's no joke. It's been a healing force for me. So, and then I get to this fourth step, and I'm faced with the underlying traits that bring me to the place that the only way I could face life was as a debtor. What are the underlying traits? So someone I've had the privilege of working with as a friend and whatever has taken this underlying traits to a new level. Has identified all her patterns from her life, turned them over, one by one, subjecting them to the 7-step prayer, also a new one in this step book. It's beautiful. It's beautiful. And then every night in a 10th step, taking those same underlying traits and saying, did I do this today? Please, higher powers, show me the way. So anyway, what I do today to stay on this path, I make a lot of phone calls. I have 2 pressure relief groups. I give pressure relief meetings. I keep my time, which is really amazing to me. I'm a workaholic. I think as I came out of the womb, I would easily work 90 hours a week, partly because I get satisfaction and partly because I'm a wacko. So by keeping the time, I get a balance. I get a visual of where I'm spending, where I'm investing what I say I want in my life. It's a prayer. To write down my time and my money is a third step for me. Here I go. Here I go, here I go, here I go. I am not the entertainment, believe me. So I guess the very last point of this is, I didn't see coming what was happening to me when I left TA. I was going to meetings all the time. I started meetings. I was doing a lot of pressure relief groups. I was not having pressure relief groups. So self-sufficiency had caught up with me again, and I didn't see it raise its ugly head. And that is the biggest danger, I think. They talk about God's sufficiency. And even if you're agnostic, group of debtors, collective wisdom. I don't trust any single person, even my husband, maybe the dog. I trust the dog. He always does the same thing over and over again. And he doesn't expect different results. He's just fine. He's fine with whatever happens. So I'm here to say that, DA number 1 works. It works around the country. I teach in China, and I work in China every year. And I go to meetings when I'm in China. Not DA meetings. When I went to my first open AA meeting there, I said, does anybody have DA here? They said, what is that, Diabetes Anonymous? So I guess I'll be bringing a DA meeting to Shanghai this year. I'm going to try to do that. Certainly I can invite them to do phone meetings. I often say, because I remember the humility that others demonstrated to me, it wasn't such a hard pill to swallow. It's that I felt so low myself that the notion of humility was abhorrent. I didn't understand it. Just as it says in the literature, we confused humiliation with humility, But all the stories you hear today about the honesty. So I often say, I'm Meryl, I'm a debtor, I'm here because I'm not all there. And that's why I keep coming. So thanks everyone on the phone, all over the world. Let's keep carrying the message and let's stay solvent just for today. Thanks.